Welcome back, collectors. We've got the weekly Hot Wheels video, and today featuring the 1979 through 1981 Hot Wheels Scorchers. And the reason why I'm bringing these to the table today is because I just recently added a whole bunch of Scorcher cars, the ones you see in these clear baggies, to my collection, bringing my total Scorcher collection to 23 completely mint examples out of the 24 cars ever produced over that 3-year span. I am now only missing one car, which is the magenta colored 55 Chevy Fever that pairs with this 55 Chevy. We'll get more into the details of that later on, and also the names of each of these cars. That's, I think, how we're going to start out this video, and then we're going to take a look at these awesome cars. And I'll tell you, I just recently, as in about 8 days ago, witnessed Larry Wood's entire Scorcher personally owned collection go up for auction on eBay, and that is where I got these cars that I needed. These were originally owned by Larry Wood himself, Mr. Hot Wheels as he is known, original designer since 1968, worked at Hot Wheels for 49 years, designing some of the coolest Hot Wheels. Just an amazing man, and he had a garage full of cars. I guess he's paring down. And although these didn't come from Larry Wood himself, I think they came from someone that bought Larry Wood's collection and never opened the baggies, as they've got a whole bunch of cars for auction on eBay even now. These were Larry Wood's cars. So I've got some interesting stories about some of the cars I witnessed sell last week related to Scorchers. And also I'll give you the prices that I paid for these cars, as well as the prices I witnessed for all of these Scorchers that sold. They were all in mint condition in the baggies that Larry Wood had put them in. My cars, although the ones that aren't in the baggies, so far as I know, are not from Larry Wood's personal collection. They are in mint condition, just as mint as the ones that Larry had himself. So a perfect valuation for these cars. Now keep in mind, when I do give you a valuation, these are not played with cars. They do not have any chips or scratches. So therefore, if you do have any sort of playware on these cars, you have to very heavily reduce the value of these cars. Part of the rarity of these cars, in addition to the later year Scorchers being kind of starting to be phased out as they became less popular in the Mattel lineups, the main rarity really is to find these cars in pristine condition. They all feature mirror chrome windows, which are easily damaged. And they have the rubber tires on the back, which are easily lost or dry rotted and split and cracked. The circular portion on the base where it says Hot Wheels Scorchers, Mattel Inc., easily scratched as it is the lowest portion of the car and often drags during play. And also, another test of the mintness is, does the windback motor still work? So I'm not really pressing all that hard. These cars were designed to go around these huge photo finish Scorchers race sets, released only in 1979, with 2 exclusive Scorcher cars. And I've got 2 of these sets, but they were designed to go around these massive sets. There's at least 15 to 18 feet of track. We'll look at those a little more closely towards the end of the video, but right now they just make an awesome backdrop for the Scorcher collection I'm about to share with you. Just like most Hot Wheels, even today, they have a lot of funny names. In fact, every single one of these cars has a unique name that was featured on the package that it came in, but they can be subdivided into groups of cars. For instance, the Camaros are pretty obvious, the El Caminos, and I'm going to give you, I've looked up research just now, the exact cars most of these were based off of, which were real vehicles of the time, with an exception of the few that I will point out that are basically pretty obvious anyways. I haven't opened up the bags yet. We're going to do that after I name the vehicles, but let's just get into this naming of the vehicles. First off, in 1979, we've got 2 examples of a 1978 Chevy Camaro. The first one is called the Cookin' Camaro. The second one is the Zappin Z28. Sorry for my stutter there. And now onto a 1978 Chevy El Camino. This first green one is called the Chevy Light. The next one is called the El Camino Real. And over to a pair of 79 Mercury Capri. These were a restyled Ford Mustang released in the North American market, 1979. First one is the Cool Capri. The second one is the Capri Turbo. Over here we have an interesting first look at the 1980 Chrysler minivans, the world's first minivans ever produced and sold. These would be prototypes, or, because this is a 79 release, these weren't even on the road at the time the Hot Wheels were made. The first one is called Good Looker, and the second one names itself right on the side, Vandemonium. Over here we've got two examples of the 77 Ford Thunderbird. The first one called Magnum Fever, and the second one called Magnum XE. And then of course, in the Scorchers photo finish race set, we find two exclusive 77 Ford Thunderbirds, the Blackbird and White Thunder. Moving on into 1980. 1980, only 6 cars produced in the Scorcher lineup after the heavy 12-car release of 1979. We've got Quick Lightning and Time Vendor. These appear to be fictionally fantasy designed cars. Unknown to me, I was trying to look them up as they look like they could possibly be some sort of sports car of the time. I was not able to readily identify them, however. And over onto these cars here, we've got an example of a 1980 Chevy Malibu 4-door. The first one being the Fire Chief, and of course the Police Chief. 55 Super Chevy, obviously based off of a 55 Chevy Bel Air. Missing, of course, is its brother, the 55 Chevy Fever in magenta. So hopefully someone that has one will contact me or list one on eBay. I have a watch for that. And into 1981, the final 6 vehicles. The Turbo 928, based off of a 1977 Porsche 928. And in silver, the Brightwork 928. Over to the remaining 4 vehicles, they are all fictional fantasy designs. We've got 2 examples here. The first one being Blue Fever, followed by Firebrand. And then, also self-labeled on the side of this van-like spaceship-y type shuttle, we've got Sundrifter and Exploder. That is all of my 23 examples out of the 24 Scorchers. Now, of course, I highly respect that these are Larry Wood's cars and that he possibly packaged them himself. Either that, an authenticity packaging company or something of the sort. It's got a holographic sticker on the base. I'm a loose collector and this just isn't going to work for me, so out they come to join the other mint examples that I have here. I'm going to try and do my best to save the packaging for whatever reason. Just I do that. Now these are tamper-proof, it says in the listing, tamper-proof stickers, so we'll see how about that. They do appear to be, yes, they are tamper-proof. So that's why I'm opening them on camera, so that it's witnessed. These are truly, legitimately tamper-proof stickers. Out it comes. Beautiful. Mint condition. And this is a hard car to find. For that example, I've been hunting the cars that I'm opening here for you, in some cases for 4 to 5 years, and they aren't cheap, I'll tell you. So there's the tamper-proof package. As you can see, when you open the sticker, the Larry Wood sticker leaves behind kind of a diamond shape, and that's the end of the Larry Wood packaging. I mean, I still have the original package, and honestly, this car, if you had another mint car, they're the exact same cars. This is not a prototype. If this was a prototype, which I will talk about as we get further into the video here, there were a few prototypes that went up for auction also in these bags. That's different. A prototype is a one-off car in most cases, and they're custom, so you have to be sure that it was made by Larry Wood himself in this case. These cars were made at a factory, so We're just going to open them up randomly here before I get into the full pricing. Actually, maybe I don't know how we're going to do this. Yeah, there's too many cars to lift each one and show them to you, so I'm going to open these up. I think there's really not much sense in trying to save these stickers now that I know they are truly tamper-proof. This car, extremely difficult to find, much harder to find than the Fire Chief car, which I've had for a while now. This one cost $140 Canadian, so about 110 US. I've seen some of these cars sell before, I just never pulled the trigger on them. It's a lot of money. I bought 8 cars from the Larry Wood collection, and the total bill was $1,200 Canadian. So, no joke, no joke. Here is the most expensive car I purchased, and of course, I will tell you, this one here had a prototype as well for sale next to it. A resin prototype made by Larry Wood. Looked exactly the same, but of course made completely in resin. It sold for the equivalent of $760 Canadian, 560 US dollars. This one I paid, what was it, 205 US dollars, or about 260 Canadian. And that's about what I'm willing to pay for the other Chevy Fever. They're both equally rare. It just so happened there wasn't one in this collection. So if you have one, I'm willing to pay between the 250-300 Canadian mark, depending on just exactly how mint it is. I don't want any chipped versions, and I think that's a pretty fair top dollar price considering this is a Larry Wood collection. And these, you know, there was a premium being paid by certain collectors because of the Larry Wood sticker, which obviously, you know, it's important to me, but more important to me is the car itself. And what a gorgeous, gorgeous car this is. One of the nicest Scorchers. Moving on into this Porsche here, the Bright Work, as it's called, B-R-I-T-E Work. It was also an expensive car. Not as expensive as I've seen it sold previously, though. I paid $120 for this one, I believe. And about there. I'm going to insert pictures of the listings and the final sold price, just in case I'm way off here. But this one I've seen sell for upwards of $150 to $200 in the past, and that's why I never actually bought it, because I just was, at the time, was just like, I cannot believe how expensive these old Scorchers are. But that is the price you pay for these mint examples. The black one is slightly more common, but not by much. We'll get into the further pricing, of course, as we do a final pan over of all the cars. As you can see, I am going to open all of these bagged cars on camera for future verification. The Blue Fever, what a weird car. You can tell it looks very modern from the side, but you look at the snout of it, it's got a real 70s kind of look to it, and spaceshipy at the back. So these cars, I think at the end, 1981, Scorchers were basically being completely phased out. The last of these Scorcher cars were not probably produced in nearly the numbers that the 1979 models were, or even the 1980. So the 79 models appear to be the rarest. They were the cars I was missing the most of. I have seen these cars sell for over $100 in the past, though. So I'm not really sure why some sell for more. It's really just supply and demand, you know. Someone probably already had filled their collection and, you know, didn't have to I didn't have to compete against that person in particular. So here's the Fire brand named version of it in bright red, really cool. Sundrifter. Now these things were expensive. Sundrifter, and I've only ever seen these for sale once before. Again, I'm going to put the picture in the video. I'm just kind of doing this one off the cuff here. It was over a week ago I bought them, so I'm trying to struggle to remember. Look at that, embossed right in the back in the casting. It's Scorchers. This is the first time I've ever held this casting in my hand, so I am, well, even that one too. But extremely excited to see these new castings, never to be produced again in any other lineup. Completely scrapped after this 1 year one final year of Scorchers. Yeah, 2 colors, that's it. So this one was near $200 Canadian, but 140, 150 US. Cool little vehicle. Quite heavy too, I might add. The Exploder, this one was slightly more expensive, I do believe. I think this one topped 200 Canadian. And once again, there it is, Scorchers embossed in the back. Minor fogging of the chrome windows, that is to be expected. These cars are nearly 40 years old, so otherwise pristine condition, as you can tell. Never played with. Collector, Larry Wood's collection. You know, he kept these similarly to the way I keep my cars, in cases on the wall. Collector, since he started making these cars himself, designing them back in 1968 all the way through till I believe he retired last year. Don't quote me on that, but 59 years of service with Mattel. So let's get into pricing on these. And just a side note, if you want to learn more about Larry Wood and his collection, there's plenty of videos on YouTube. Just look up Larry Wood or Mr. Hot Wheels and you will find him and some interesting stories. But these are now part of the WTF FOR collection. So not for sale, but if they ever do, they will come with the existing little baggie that I opened. It'll be decades ago by that time, and probably a new little bag with an embossed WTF FOR hologram label on it, since these cars will be now video famous, which I'm not sure they ever have been before. Let's get into a full pricing of these cars to finish off this video. And in order to do this pricing accurately, I have gone to my phone here. We're going to look up each of these cars. They won't be in the same order I have them out here on the table, but I'll just I'll point and shoot to each one. I'm going to read this off camera and show you on camera, but yeah, there's the resin prototypes. Whoa, $763 for a resin yellow prototype of the Scorcher 55, and then that one there, $734, $260 for that. Anyways, these are going to be in Canadian prices. That's just the way my eBay auction set up, but as a conversion, $1 Canadian equals 75 cents US. So there we go, $260 for that one, and $90 for that one. This one sold for $60. I already had one, so I did not buy that. Zooming across, $105. That's a top dollar for the Magnum. That's not exactly an overly rare car. And $83. Again, I've seen these, probably one of the more common cars for 1979, but somebody really wanted those, so there they are. $52 for the good looking. It was misidentified as Vandemonium. Most people don't know all the weird names that these cars came with, but they were different. There's the Vandemonium. It sold for $60 as well. The green version is more common than the yellow one by a bit. Exploder, there you are. Okay, maybe I didn't pay as much as I thought. 170 Canadian, $182 Canadian for that one. And over to the photo finish cars. Each of those sold for $53 Canadian. Yes, the Police Chief, $143 Canadian. And there was one of these that sold as well for $60 Canadian. So you can see the rarity difference there. To the Ford Caprice. Now this is interesting. This one is pretty common. Sold for $50 Canadian. This one here I've seen sell for a lot in the past. At least double what it sold for this time around. One sold for $60 Canadian for the blue version. That is a much rarer version than the orange one. For the Blue Fever, I paid $90 Canadian. This is interesting as well. The brown Camaro Z28 sold for only $50 this time around. I've seen that one sell. I think I paid double for mine a few years back, and I've seen them sell regularly for a lot more than that. The silver version sold for $46 this time. Much less much easier to find the silver than the brown one, in my experience. And the Porsche 928 in black sold for $105. That's about normal for what I've seen. And that's what I paid for the silver one as well. So, sorry for overestimating earlier. I'm probably thinking with customs and shipping attached. I always kind of roll that in because really for me it's part of the cost living in Canada. I had to pay not only shipping but custom duties on all these cars, which was tacked on. Amazing deal for someone. They got this green version of the El Camino for $33 Canadian. That's about 20 US. That is a steal. The purple one sold for $47. Also not bad. That green one is very rare. The purple one in mint shape also quite rare. And that was it for the Scorchers. So if I missed any, I don't think that I did. Did I get those two? I'm not sure. Anyways, that was the pricing that I witnessed this time around as of, what are we, October 2018. Scorcher pricing. If anyone wants to add that to some sort of price guide, there you go. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you're out looking for any of these old cars, happy hunting.